there, I'm Tom Field. I'm Senior Vice President of Editorial with Information Security Media Group. Very pleased to welcome you to our session today, the topic of which is modernizing WAF, what today's applications actually need. Joining me is Sudhir Padamasetti. He is Senior Director, Product Management with Harness. And before I bring him onto our virtual stage, let me give you some background on our conversation. APIs now account for the majority of internet traffic. Yes, most web application firewalls were built for a time when web pages and static content dominated. These traditional solutions rely only on static signatures and manual rule tuning, which makes them ineffective at protecting today's dynamic applications, and it leaves them vulnerable to threats such as those outlined in the OWASP Web Top 10. So, in this session, we will examine what web application security needs to look like in an API-first world. You'll learn how traceable WAF delivers context-aware protection, behavioral threat detection, and flexible deployment models, all designed to reduce false positives, simplify operations, and integrate cleanly into modern DevSecOps practices. Just a bit about my organization. Information Security Media Group is a global education and intelligence firm. We are based in the U.S. in Princeton, New Jersey, and of course, you may know us by any number of our 38 media properties. These include Bank Info Security, Data Breach Today, AItoday.io. In all, we serve an audience of over 1.8 million security and technology leaders globally, and we give them a daily diet of news, analysis, research, and educational programs just like this one. Just a few notes of housekeeping. If you have any questions for Sudhir, you can submit them anytime via the chat window on your screen. We may not get to every question today, but in that case, we'll get responses back to you via email. Should you encounter technical issues while viewing today's webinar, take down the email address that you see on your screen. If you write to webinars@ismg.io, we have got support staff standing by to help. And a reminder, today's webinar is copyrighted material meant for today's session and individual study purposes only. If you would like to use any of the information presented today, or if you're looking for customized training materials, please contact us. I am delighted, of course, to introduce our sponsor. Harness is the leading end-to-end platform for complete software delivery. It provides a simple, safe, and secure way for engineering and DevOps teams to release applications into production. Harness uses AI and machine learning to monitor the quality of deployments and automatically roll back failed ones, saving time and reducing the need for custom scripting and manual oversight. Of course, giving engineers their nights and weekends back. Harness customers accelerate deployments by up to 75%, reduce infrastructure costs by up to 60%, and decrease lead time for changes by up to 90%. Harness is based in San Francisco, and you can learn more at harness.io. Meanwhile, Traceable's intelligent and context-aware solution powers complete API discovery and posture management, API security testing, and application and API protection anywhere your apps and APIs live. Its unified platform replaces fragmented tools with a coordinated approach to discovery, testing, and protection. Traceable enables organizations such as Axos Bank, Informatica, PayPal to minimize risk and maximize the value that applications and APIs bring to their customers. Whether defending against bots, abuse, or zero-day API exploits, Traceable secures what matters most: your applications, your APIs, and your business. To learn more, visit traceable.ai. Now, let's meet Sudhir Padamasetti. He's a seasoned product executive, more than a decade of experience in cybersecurity and infrastructure, and he's held leadership roles at companies such as Harness, F5, Fastly, Citrix, and Akamai, where he consistently drove innovation in application security and cloud-native technologies. And with that, let's welcome onto our virtual stage here, Sudhir Padamasetti. Sudhir, thank you so much for being a part of this production today.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me, and very excited to be talking to you today about a topic close to my heart, modernizing WAF.
Well, help me set the context here. Where do you see traditional web application firewalls struggling to keep up with modern security demands? I kind of hinted at it, but you see the details of it.
Yeah. Like before we understand how traditional WAFs fall short, we need to go back to the history of how applications evolved over time. So if you kind of do a rewind and understand how applications evolved, like in the beginning, like early 2000s, most of the applications we had were monoliths, which were made up of a lot of static content, maybe HTML, pages, web forms, and images and CSS, and then they were deployed on a single server built using Java or .NET, right? So it was all monoliths, and then they had a CDN in front of them to serve the static content. And then maybe 10 years or later, like in early 2010 or so on, like Netflix, like companies like Netflix, they evolved from this monolith architecture and they started this microservices trend, where like application was broken down into multiple pieces and each team had ownership of a specific microservices, and it was done for multitude of reasons like autonomy, speed, so on, right? And now in 2025, now if you see that microservices kind of architecture is front and center of everything now, and the microservices talk to each other via APIs, and everything is API traffic, and most all systems today are distributed systems, right? In the year 2025. So given that trend, like maybe you rewind 25 years and where we are today, so back in the day, majority of the traffic on the web was for static content. It was mostly HTML pages or images. But today, there are some studies out there which says like up to 70% of the traffic on the web is actually driven by APIs. It's API traffic. So that shift has changed, where API traffic was literally nothing to being the majority of the traffic, and it's not stopping, it's growing. So this is how the applications have evolved, and then the traffic trends on the internet have evolved. So let's come back to the topic, which is the WAF or web application firewall. So if we go back to history of WAF, the first commercial WAF was launched sometime in the same period around early 2000s. They were deployed as hardware appliances. And then from an appliance form factor, they evolved when the cloud was there. They evolved into like a virtual machine kind of concept. And then in 2000, after 2010, year 2010, with the CDN coming up, most WAFs kind of converted to cloud WAFs, where the WAFs were deployed as part of CDNs. And today, most of the WAFs are CDN deployed and edge WAFs. So WAFs have evolved from a form factor perspective. Like they were deployed on hardware appliances, now they're deployed in the CDN format. That has been the only change in WAFs. And the WAFs that were built like 25 years ago, they are still the same. Only the deployment form factor has changed. So they're still focused on that static content, securing that static content, and they haven't evolved in securing that 70% of traffic, which is the APIs. But the focus, how they have been built, designed, is on the remaining 30%. So these are the shortcomings of traditional WAFs, which are not built for the API first microservices distributed systems world.
No, that's great context. Let me ask you this, Sudhir. What is at risk for enterprises that continue to rely on traditional WAF?
Yeah, so I can think of like if we think of it like maybe in two ways, like maybe two major risks I can think of. Maybe the first one is you can't protect what you can't see. Most enterprises today leverage edge-based WAFs, edge deployments. So assume, let's say your house has multiple doors. You can get into your house through the garage door, through the front door, or you can also come through the backyard. But most organizations, they're only securing the front door of the house, and they have left the garage door open and the back door open. So the attack surface has grown drastically. So you have to expand your protection to kind of cover all the attack surface. Given with the microservices architectures, there's a lot of internal east-west traffic. And east-west traffic actually makes up significant portion of traffic compared to the north-south traffic. So that is number one risk that organizations have, which is in terms of attack surface and how much of the attack surface they're securing. And the number two I can think of is more like a false sense of security. So most organizations might think, okay, I have a WAF at the edge or a CDN and I'm safe. But in reality, are those WAFs really protecting your applications against those vulnerabilities? Uh, and are they really built for the API first world? Do they have understanding into APIs to kind of really solve, or are they generating a lot of noise and giving you that false sense of security. So these are the broad risks I see for organizations that are dealing with traditional WAFs.
You've used this term a couple of times, an API first world. What does application security need to look like in this world?
Yeah, I mean, like, see, the world has changed significantly over the last few years. Uh, and now with the agentic AI and all the things that you hear with all the automation, like OpenAI recently launching agent. So what we are seeing is everything is automated. Everything will be automated eventually on the internet. So agents will do the job on behalf of us, and we humans are going to delegate our job to agents. So what are agents? Agents are nothing but they are automation which are behind the scenes calling a bunch of APIs to talk to websites and applications. So when I say API first world, now all the traffic that you're going to see in on the internet will be driven by API communications. That's how we are going to interact with websites and apps. Agents are going to interact on our behalf, and everything will be API calls behind the scenes. And also within clouds or across clouds, how applications and microservices talk to each other is via APIs. So think of API everywhere, right? That's how the world is going to be. Yeah.
I want to bring it back to traceable and harness. How are you helping your customers to evolve to the modern WAF?
Yeah, so the at Traceable, the approach that we have taken, especially when it comes to WAF, is you can't just rely on pattern matching to kind of understand and detect attacks in this API first era. You have to go beyond that, which is what we call as like a context and behavioral understanding. So how we see that is basically, as I said, majority of the traffic is for APIs. So we learn all your APIs, and then we have like something known as an API DNA, where we understand exactly what an API is, what it's made up of, and what is the normal usage of this API looks like. So it's all like you need to establish some baselines and then understand when something deviates from those baselines. So that is where you can actually secure your APIs and these dynamic applications with your WAF, instead of just relying on pattern matching, because pattern matching is will generate a lot of noise without any context into your APIs or any behavior understanding of your APIs or the actors or any understanding into the data that's flowing between your APIs.
I want to learn a little bit more about some of the specific benefits you're offering. Talk about context-aware protection just to start, please.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is a very, very essential thing, not just when it comes to WAF, but in general application security. What does context-aware security mean? So, context-aware security is something where you have to look at things from multiple dimensions. So that is basically understand. So on one side you have APIs. You know what those APIs are, how those APIs are accessed, what are the normal patterns and abnormal patterns. On the other side, you have users or actors who are accessing these APIs. So you understand from an actor angle, like what type of APIs these actor access. Is this a normal pattern of access? You also understand the patterns or keywords, like understanding are there any malicious patterns or malicious keywords, and then you also look at what data is actually flowing across your APIs. So you combine all those things, uh, and kind of come up with that specific understanding of an attack. So maybe if I explain you in a more deeper way. So traditional apps, how they work is, let's say there's a keyword called select star from something, right? So it's like a SQL query. And usually traditional web, what they do is they look at the keyword, select star, and then they're like, oh, wow, okay, this is an attack. This is a SQL injection attack. But that approach has been there for the last 20 plus years. What we do differently is instead of just looking at those keywords or patterns, we try to say we try to help you understand this particular question is this behavior in this context on this API from this actor, right? So four angles. This behavior in this context on this particular API from this actor is considered risky. And we can tell you which this amount of confidence that this is an attack. So, so that is what is context and behavioral aware security. So this actually, looking at from a behavioral lens, context lens, help you identify zero-day attacks, which are not possible with pattern matching, and also identify specific targeted attacks with accurate actionable detection and less noise for customers. So
So
that is
this
how we
leads
do it.
directly to behavioral threat detection then.
Exactly. So it's not like, see, it's not like signatures or rules are bad, but signatures in isolation are bad. So you're not looking at requests in isolation, right? It just because I saw one keyword trigger on a request, it's not an attack. But what if you add some intelligence in your signatures and add that behavioral and context awareness and your API awareness? That is what makes your detection accurate and actionable. And that is what customers also need in this API first era.
When you talk about flexible deployment models, what do you mean, Sudhir?
So, w- as I said, like you have multiple doors to your house and you can enter in any way. So, the same way attackers can kind of attack your apps and APIs from different directions. And given now most of the applications are distributed across multi-cloud, hybrid cloud environments, on-prem data centers, the attack surface has grown drastically uh, compared to in the past where there was only one point of entry. So to meet those needs of customers to secure their overall ecosystem and address that overall attack surface, we provide customers with this flexible options that fit their architectures. So the multiple deployment options we have is, for example, a lot of customers uh, from specific verticals, they don't want to do TLS termination on CDNs or other environments for specific reasons. So for customers like that, we have like an eBPF based deployment option, which can sit out of band and collect traffic and do detections for you. We also have inline agents that can sit inside your applications and that can monitor the behavior of your applications. And we also have inline agents that can sit on proxies. And then we also have edge deployment that looks at that front door. So we have multiple deployment options that can cover all doors to your house and help you cover your entire attack surface. That's what we do differently.
So, Sudhir, if we take a step back, how can enterprises modernize while at the same time leveraging some of the existing investments they've made? Because it's hard to rip and replace anything.
Yeah, so we are not asking organizations to rip and replace anything. They have invested a lot of time, effort into deploying their edge WAFs, and those WAFs are decent enough to protect against L7 DDoS attacks or so on. What we do is we integrate with a lot of WAFs, a lot of third-party WAFs. So if there's some attack surface that is not covered by those existing WAFs, we can cover that, and we can help you kind of understand that full ecosystem of attack surface. So you don't have to rip and replace anything, but you can get started. We are helping you expand on what you have. So that is what we do
Okay.
and help customers keep their existing investments, but also have better coverage for their attack surface.
So, if you were to advise our viewers today, what are questions that they really need to be asking about how they're securing applications?
So the question they need to ask is number one is, am I really uh, kind of securing all the attack surface? Uh, Second is, am I really securing my applications from like a efficacy standpoint, or is it like just a false sense of security? And third is my WAF aware of APIs, and is it context and behavior driven?
Excellent. We've covered a lot in a short period of time. Sudhir, where can our viewers go to learn even more?
You can go to our website, traceable.ai. We have a lot of content there, data sheets and resources. And you can also sign up for a demo to see how the product works in your environments. We are also active doing a lot of blogs and thought leadership. And you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn if you want to continue this conversation to learn more about how you can modernize your WAF for the API first era.
I've enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of this today.
Thank you, Tom.
First, I want to thank our attendees as well. You took time out of your day to attend this discussion. We're grateful for that. And I trust you're walking away with some excellent new ideas on how you can improve application security in your own organization. As always, I do look forward to seeing you at one of our upcoming events. And until then, for Information Security Media Group, I'm Tom Field. Thank you for giving us your time and attention today. We're grateful.